Hello everyone, this is FlatLine, and today I'm going to be starting off since I've been kind of inconsistent, I'm trying to find a way where I could be more consistent, so I'm going to try to be like Day 9, but more for just Protoss itself, so I'm trying to make out a daily type of thing, so it's going to be like FlatLine's Daily. Obviously it's coined off of Day 9's. Where we pretty much go over builds or games itself and try to understand it. So it's kind of like replay analysis, but it's just going to be coined off as daily because it might help me be more consistent. So this is just me playing against a Zerg on ladder recently. I think it was yesterday when I played this game. Okay, so I put a pylon inside my main, and we're going to pause it here because this probe, or I don't know if you saw that, but this probe is actually going to go ahead and scout. So the cool thing about this timing that I'm doing is on 2-player maps, if you 10 scout against Zerg, you should be able to get to his natural, or her natural, his or her, depending on whoever you're facing. You should be able to get to their natural by 2:05, and 2:05 is the timing for whenever they could go for a 15 hatch. And you're gonna see him gonna try to get over here. Look at that, he's trying to hide his drone here. Look at that, 3:15. You can see the timing all matches up pretty well. So now I'm blocking this. Now look how late his spawning pull is. To 17. He did a okay. So he did a 17 pull. Look how late it is. Obviously I haven't scouted this though. If you look at my vision. Didn't really scout it. The only thing I scouted was he tried to bring a drone down to try to get a hatchery down. So what does this mean? Basically means that his intentions were to go for a hatch first at this point. But it was not successful. So he had a very late pull. So there's two options I could have made. One is the safer option. You're just going to play it out as normal, as if he went for a 15 pull. You get your second pylon, you're going to go to a cyber, and then you're going to expand. The other way, to be a little bit greedier, that will end up still being safe though, it's greedy but safe because of how delayed this pull is. You can skip the cyber and the second pylon and go for a nexus right now. So you go for the nexus and then you put the pylon down as part of your wall off, and then you play from there. So you get a faster nexus that way. But since I didn't really scout my opponent's main and I wanted to play super safe this game, I decided to go for the safer route. And also, if you see 2 overlords, by the way, that basically means he's not going for a 6 pull or 7 pull like that. So you know, I mean, he could go for like something like a 12 pull or something like that, but they usually don't send a drone this early. They wanted to do that. Okay, I'm going to pause it again. This is going to be paused a little bit more than usual. 2 people in gas. Now, why would I put 2 people in gas? Why not 3? So my intentions are, I want to expand pretty quickly, but have enough gas to go for, let's say, a mothership if I need to, or anything like that, for instance. Just in case of how my opponent's opening. Like, do you remember, I don't really know his pull timing. I just know that he tried to go for a 15 hatch and it was failed. So I don't know if he went gas and then pull, or pull then gas at this point. So I just wanted to play safe, put 2 guys in gas. It's a very nice in-between on having a lot of gas and having just enough gas, just the minimum, but have the maximum on minerals. So that way I should be able to expand towards my natural very quickly. So to pause it real quick, I actually forgot to say this. So my initial thought, or going into this game, I wanted to 1 gate expand, 10 scout. By the way, I was going to 10 scout regardless, so that way I can block this. And if it plays out normal, what I want to do is do a 1 gate expand into a 3 gate aggression, and it depends on what I see. So if I see him going with no gas, like my opponent is, or very very late gas, then I want to go for a 4-stalker rest zealot type of composition when I pressure his when I do my low pressure. Now if he had gas early on, where it looks like he's going for speed, then I probably wouldn't invest into 4 stalkers. I probably would invest more into the zealots. So maybe like 2 stalkers and the rest zealots, and then go from there. It's pretty much my that's pretty much what was going through my head. So I want to do some kind of very quick expand and put on a very nice pressure on my opponent while probing up, so I can expand or be ahead in economy. Okay, so I'm going to go back in his base, and we're going to look at his gas. Does it have this gas? Does it have this gas? Now I'm about to get out. Cool. So, scouting that he doesn't have gas means that his speed timing is going to be very very late. Like it's going to be like 7 minutes or later. I would say, how long does this take? 110. So we'll see once he gets to 100 gas. We'll see when he can start speed, and see when it usually finishes, or when it would finish. That's a bummer. Okay, so knowing that he doesn't have gas, I'm going to open up with the stalker and play a little bit more pretty aggressive with it, because there's really nothing he can do about it, right? The Zerglings shouldn't be able to kill my stalker because they're not speedling, so they can't really catch up to my stalker and kill it. Remember, we want to do a 3-gate aggression, so I saw that he didn't have any gas, so I want to hit as soon as possible. So let's dedicate our chrono boost all into the Cyber. So what's the pros and cons in this build then? So the pro about this is that my aggression is going to hit super quick and super early. So the potential to do damage is really really high for me at this point, especially when he had no gas in the early stage. Alright, how many roaches cost 25 gas? He's able to make 3, that's 75. Let's back this up. And this is what you want to do in whenever you try to find a build. You want to find one where you feel comfortable with. You know, that's in your little zone. Everyone plays differently. Everyone's not the same. So some people like to play aggressive, some people like to play passive. There's no right or wrong answer. Well, actually there is a right, and the only right answer is your style. Just play your style and you should be fine. So anytime you find a build that you like and you have this and you want to refine it and everything, what you want to do is go through every single replay of that where you do the build, you will win or lose, and see potential things that would alter the result or alter the game itself. So he doesn't go for, we saw that he went for roaches, he's not going for speed. So right here, if we alter that, let's say he does go for speed with a very late extractor, he can start speed right now, 110 seconds from a 5:30. So that's about a minute, that's almost 2 minutes, a little bit less. So it's at 7:10, 7:20, 7:18. At 7:18 is when speed would be done for my opponent. Very very late. 7:18, 40 seconds left on my warp gate, not to mention I could chrono boost it one more time, so it'd be 30 seconds from now. So about 6 minutes is when I can warp in. I gotta change those into warp gates, which is like 15, and the warp in's about 15, so it's another additional 30 seconds. So about 6:30 is when I could put on some pressure with my warped in units. 7:10 is when you can have speed. Cool. Cool. There's my mothership core. He's going for third base and he's making these roaches. Now, you would think roaches is the right way to go, right? Against like the 4-gate zealot aggression, it seems a very, very good way of dealing with it, because you know, roaches are pretty decent when it comes to dealing with zealots in the early stage because they're unupgraded. So he is assuming I'm doing a 4-gate 1-gas aggression. And in fact, I'm only doing a 3-gate aggression. So this 3-gate just saves a little bit more money for me, and it, you know, means that I'm not really going for just zealots because of his very late gas. Instead, I'm going to be dedicating to 4 stalkers and the rest zealots. Now, this idea of this build, the opening itself for the 10 scout and stuff like that, that came from me. That came from just timing wise. I was just looking, okay, I like the thing about gateway expands that I like is that you can early tech, you can put on early aggression, and it keeps the Zerg kind of safe. The bad thing about the gateway expanding typically is that you don't really scout early in the game, so Zergs will go for 3 hatch before pull, or hatch first, or something like that. Hatch first into gas and then pull. A very, very greedy opening, but it's safe because he's not getting scouted. Like, I'm not really doing anything on, you know, to change his mind. But the fact that I added that early scout, he can't go for that 15 hatch. He can't do any of that greedy play. He has to play standard at that point. Now the next transition would be the 3-gate aggression. This 3-gate aggression did not come from me. This actually came from watching State's stream. On Twitch, he's been streaming quite a bit. He's definitely one of the best foreign Protoss there out there right now. He actually is part of the Prime clan, so definitely legit when it comes to skill. So anyways, I like his 3-gate aggression, so I was like, you know what, let's steal that and let's just add it to my opening. My opening is pretty safe, pretty solid. I like that, but I like his transition from the 1-gate expand. From his expand. So let's grab that 3-gateway pressure and put it into our build. And that's pretty much how I did this build. So I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna check. Okay, roaches. Just confirmed it. So now when I see those roaches, I now know he is gonna try to defend with the roaches. What does that mean? I'm gonna add on my extra stalkers here. Remember, we wanna go up to 4 stalkers and the rest zealots. That's pretty much what State does. And I don't really know, I mean, I don't know exactly why 4 stalkers, but this feels really, really nice when the game plays out. Whenever you play, throughout this game, you'll see what I mean. It just feels really, really smooth for me, and it's not a huge commitment in the sense that I'm not spending more gas into the pressure. I'm just spending minerals, which is expendable. This is a lot easier to get the minerals rather than the gas, right? Because I'm only on 1 gas. So losing that 1 stalker is unfortunate. So that means I have to add on an extra stalker, which is unfortunate for me. And my mothership core is a little bit late. So there is my new stalker. I'm going to go up to just 4 stalkers. And look at this pressure, look what it's doing. It's forcing him units while I'm probing up, getting a 3rd base behind this. Cool. 38 probes to 27 drones. Look at that. Look at that. A huge commitment. If he wanted to open up with roaches, like he did, it's better off if he stays on 2 base rather than 3 base. Like, he got this 3rd hatch. If you go for 3 hatches as Zerg, you cannot go roaches to defend these gateway timings. You have to go for lings. But if you want to open up with roaches, then stay on 2 base. Just a little quick tip. So the cool thing I like this build is that you can transition out of it. You can keep on making probes while your opponent Zerg, it's really hard for them to balance between making drones and making units. Making drones, making units like roaches and zerglings all come from one building, the hatchery. So it's really hard for them to be like, okay, let's make 6 roaches and 6 drones. Whereas for Protoss, it's a little bit easier because our Nexus is not really making, the stalkers and zealots. It's just making probes, and that's its only sole purpose at this point when it comes to production. And the warp gates are for my army units, these zealots and stalkers. So it's a little bit isolated. It's a lot easier for us to be like, should we be making units or drones? Or probes compared to Zerg. Getting my 3rd. You can see I'm not really moving away. I'm not retreating. And the reason why I'm not retreating is because I want to force more units. I want to extend my lead. My lead is my economy. I want to extend my lead as much as possible. So I'm going to keep him back over here. And look what's happening. He's still making more roaches. He's like, oh my gosh, he's just building up an army right now. He's even adding on a spine. A spine is pretty much 3 drones. So one is that first drone that has to make the spine, and then the spine itself is about 100 minerals, which is 2 drones. So this is pretty much, whenever they make a spine, you can look at it in that perspective and be like, okay, so they just basically lost 3 drones. Getting my +1, getting my gases now, because I have full saturation of my natural. Should be getting my gases at my 3rd. Cool. My 3rd is finishing up. You can see his mining is really poor. Really poor at the natural, really poor at the 3rd. Look at my natural, it's looking pretty healthy. My main's looking pretty healthy. The 3rd just finished up, and so I'm gonna start mining from it. Let's look at the units tab. 52 probes to 32 drones. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna pause it here. Now we're gonna understand the transition out of this. There's so many. This is the cool thing. This is what your build should be like, in my opinion. Is you should be able to just take bits and pieces of other builds that you saw and implement it into your own build. You find an opening you like. For me, it's the 10 scout into gateway, into expand, and then from there find something you like that transitions out of it that requires that kind of early expand. For instance, the state build, he goes for a gateway expand. He doesn't do the 10 scout like I do, but he does get a very quick expansion, kind of like me, and goes to 3 gates, and then pressures with the 4 stalkers and the rest zealots with the mothership core. Cool, I'll take that part. Maybe I won't hit as super clean and super early like his, but I feel safe, I feel fine. Let's see how this goes. And right now it's looking really good. The pressure. Okay, so what's my next follow-up from the pressure? The pressure itself is not supposed to kill Zerg. It's a pressure. So what does this pressure lead up to? Should I all in? Should I go for an Immortal Sentry response? Should I go for an expand? For me, I'm going to go for the expand. And the reason why I go for the expand is basically I just want to see how this game goes from a macro point of view. I'm not really good at all-inning, I'll tell you that. Even though you see a couple of these games or a couple of videos where you see me all-inning, it's more for educational purposes because it's been demanded for quite a bit from some of my viewers and fans. But other than that, usually I like to try to play for a macro stage of the game. I wanted to see how this pans out. And so far it's looking really good, because if you look at his army, it's pretty scary, right? There's a lot of roaches. It can pretty much, but my army is good enough to kind of to contest with it. And on top of that, the mothership core, once we retreat towards our base, and if he does attack, should be pretty much close to photon overcharge, which will end up helping me dealing with the aggression from my opponent. I'm going to be getting +1. You see my robotics bay on the way. Time to add on my sentries. Sentries really essential in PvZ. so we're gonna pause here. We want to understand, as Protoss, it's a very gas-intensive race, right? Usually, as Protoss, you want to try to rush for your gases whenever you expand, so that way you can tech pretty hard. But my style as Protoss, I like to stay kind of low tech. I like the like Immortal gateway type of army composition, more so than going for Colossus or Void Raids or something like that. More of a fan of that. So going for this low tech, and the cool thing about the low tech, there's pros and cons for every choice that you make. So the pro for going for the low tech is that I could have a lot of units and I could play very, very aggressive in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Cool. The con of that, though, is that your army is not as powerful as it could be. You know, if I had, like, let's say 3 Colossus with my army, it is like 100 times better than having like 6 extra Immortals into your army composition. Or maybe a little, I over-exaggerate, maybe like 5 Immortals. Also, about the gas thing, I'm not really taking my gas, because if you look, my army, it's going to be predominantly really heavy on Zealots and a couple of Sentries, the dash of Immortals. The other thing we need to look at is my production. I have only 3 gates, a Robo, and oh look, okay, 4 gates and a 5th one on the way, 5 gates and a Robo. Is that enough to deal with 3 base Zerg? Usually I would say no, but in this case, I mean, I have a big enough army. I just was not sure on how many drones my opponent actually had. You know, if you look at my vision, I don't really see much. The only thing I noticed was that he had a 3rd base. I forced the spine. He had a lot of roaches. These roaches kind of indicate that he wanted to go for some kind of range upgraded type of composition, maybe like Roach Hydra Viper, something like that. Usually if they go for mutas, they would rely on Spearlings to defend. I'm going to pause it here. Why am I getting my gas now? Why didn't I get my gas right when the 3rd finished? Because remember what we said, we want to maximize our mineral income to allow us to get extra production buildings, aka the gateways. So I'm able to add on a 6th, 7th, and an 8th gateway, and that's plenty. 8 gateways in a row, plenty to deal with 3 base Zerg. Plenty. And then I get my gases, and the reason, and then on top of that, that syncs up so well, is that I have 16 workers per mineral patch, 3 in each gas besides the 3rd. You want to have 16 probes on the mineral lines, the most efficient way of mining, and then have 3 in each gas, because gas is really important. My +2. I keep on making my Immortals here. Q. Okay. Haven't really done anything with my Twilight, which is unfortunate. So we're going to speed things up a little bit here. I kind of dragging on this video for quite a bit here. So I'm not really moving out yet. Why am I not moving out yet? This is a pretty big army compared to my opponent. Why am I not moving out yet? Because it's really easy for Zergs to ignore what their mistakes were in the beginning of the game and patch it by taking a slight risk to catch or to neutralize the disadvantage that he had. So what Bunny here is trying to do is that he, instead of making more roaches, which is pretty, that can tank quite a bit, they're gonna go for a Ling Hydra. It's not really as powerful as the roaches when it comes to defending or taking up shots, but you get the DPS from your Hydras. So he's relying on a DPS from his Hydras to actually do quite a bit of damage, and just relies on the roaches to kind of tank, as well as the Lings. But the Lings obviously not the strongest when it comes to defending attacks. So pretty big army for me, 134 to 143. I backed up because I want to add on these armies. It's really easy for you to just have them all in your group. And let's imagine my army was up here. Okay, there's a possibility that Bunny might have a couple of Lings to do a run by, which will end up catching these units, which you don't want that to happen whatsoever. Not the best force fields for sure. Yeah, those force fields weren't that bad. It definitely isolated quite a bit. Okay, so we're gonna pause here. We have charge, we have not blink, we have +3 on the way, we have a warp prism on the way as well. I think this one's gonna be on the left side. So now we need to understand the transition after this aggression. So we decided to attack because our third base was pretty much we were saturated on all 3 bases. So I just powered up my gateways and decided to move with my army. Cool. So what's the benefit of this style? Well, you're going to have a lot of gateways. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 gateways from me. Probably going to be adding on a couple more. So this means that we can play very harass-like, in the sense that it's really hard for Zurich to have, let's say, this army over here, and have him have a couple of units more up here, because this is not going to be able to deal with my army. There's the Lings. Free Lings. And I harass here. Okay, I harassed here. What does this mean? He pretty much has to either respond by pulling his army here to deal with this, or pretty much give up this expansion. Now because of this, his focus is at the third. What does that mean? Let's harass the main, shall we? He doesn't really have any detection, neither at the natural as well. This is in all of these units here. And on top of that, I killed this base as well, because he's so busy over there, he's not able to defend that base. So he loses that base, he's going to lose this base, he's going to lose all these drones over here, and these drones as well. So there's the build order itself. Well, actually not the build order, but to understand builds. Basically to TLDR this thing, find an opening you feel comfortable about, and just take bits and pieces of other builds and their transitions. So like the state build, I just took its transition when it comes to that 3-gate aggression, and then just expand it from there, and just keep on doing that aggression. So I recycle that style again and again and again and again. You'll soon figure out the pros and cons of your build itself. You can see its weakness and see how you can kind of tweak your builds, so that way you can kind of be okay. So like for instance, I tweaked where my gateway expands, I scout at 10, so that way I don't have to deal with hatch or 3 hatch or anything like very greedy play from Zerg. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope this helps you quite a bit when it comes to formulating or creating your own build. And if you have any questions or any comments, definitely feel free to put them in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please follow me on Twitch and Twitter, and subscribe to my YouTube channel or my Twitch as well. You can check out my website at flatlinesc2.com, which is probably more organized than my YouTube or anything like that. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you later.